Welcome back. I'm playing Darfall, and today I'm going to create a guide for what I would recommend for milestones for days 8 through 10, assuming you're having difficulty with the survival campaign here. Congratulations if you've made it this far, because as long as you haven't been suffering major losses, you should be feeling pretty good about the end of your campaign coming up, because you've now passed more than the halfway point for getting your survival to be successful here. So this is meant to be used for the Chaosborn difficulty setting, which is the hardest difficulty setting in the game. But obviously the milestones here, if you're able to complete them, will mean that on the easier difficulties, you should just be able to blow through it without much of a challenge. So you're getting close to kind of the final hurdles here. So really at day 8, your objectives are going to be to repair and continue to fortify anything so you can continue to survive the undead assaults at night. And while you're creeping, your priority is going to be making sure you solidify any resources that you're running out of. So let's say you need to still have ore available to make better upgrades for your resource gathering points, or you need to make sure you have wood to be able to make additional outposts to keep your workers safe at night, or silver if you're not having enough resources to guarantee that you will have enough to replace any paladins that may get killed during the evening assaults. Then you'll want to focus on getting that going as well. You should have all 20 troops fully upgraded by now. If you haven't, you've probably been having a bad time at night. You'll want to ensure that you have complete 3-layer walls and some sort of form that you're feeling pretty confident about defending. You'll want to kill the demon portal, or I'm sorry, the dark portal, not the dark pylon. I keep messing that up. From the prior days if you haven't already, because at 1 p.m. if you have, you'll get another portal get opened up, and you'll want to be able to run around and kill that to give you some additional silver and experience. At 1 p.m. You'll not only have the dark pylon show up, but you'll also get attacked by the orc raiders, as you're able to see here. If you're doing really well, you could consider attacking the demon portals as well, because it'll take you probably a day to clear those out, assuming you don't mind sacrificing your whole army to get that done, unless there's changes to the game mechanics. Now, with how the game is currently set up and balanced, I don't recommend that, because you're going to suffer more losses than what you're going to be able to replenish, and then you're going to be starting off with weaker guys because they're not going to be experienced. But it's up to you. If you want to try to get some legendary equipment and knock a portal or two out, that's fine. But like I said, I just want you to have a successful campaign, and so it's generally the juice isn't worth the squeeze when it comes to taking these portals out. Now, if you do successfully take out all the portals, then you will get your score higher, but you'll also be suffering penalties for the units that are lost and killed during that whole expedition. So I typically think it doesn't make a lot of sense, but really you're kind of just trying to solidify your position here for the ending portion of the game here. And then at 2200 you'll have the Undead Rising event. Again, it's just more of the same. As the prior nights, it's just going to be more of those units. And so by now you should get a pretty good understanding of where the attack waves are coming. And so you want to make sure you find locations where your workers will be safe at night, because by now you're probably going to be into a situation where you've harvested all the resources near your base, and you're going to want to have your workers outside the base in case the enemy does breach the walls. Because the undead, unless you have your outpost in the vicinity of the spawn points, they shouldn't be attacked by anything other than the orc raids, and so your units will be much safer being in these little outposts than they will be being at the main base, since you don't need them to be available to repair any of your buildings or anything. Unlike a lot of other RTS games, it's all automatically done through the magic of the auto repair button, so you don't need to have workers to help you with that. Probably the only caveat to that will be your farmers, who may be taking advantage of the buffs of the building within your own base, but that's up to you to decide whether that's worth keeping some guys in your city or not. But that's pretty much all there is to day 8. Like I said, you're on the final hurrah, so it's more of the same. Just keep creeping, find good resources, kill these elite mobs like what we're doing here, so we can try to get more perk books and focus on leveling up our hero to get his stats up to make him even stronger to help us survive the coming waves that will be happening in the next 2 days. So we'll jump to day 9. All right, so congratulations. You've now crossed the threshold to day 9. You're likely going to have some breaches in your walls and things that have been damaged. So what you're going to want to be doing is making sure you're mopping up the undead that may be around you here and focus on fortifying your base. You'll want to continue to make towers around your whole perimeter to help fight the undead waves that are going to be coming here, because we're getting to the last sections here. You may also, if you have a very large base, want to set up some secondary walls inside your base, and once you have stone towers or ballistas, depending on the resources and map that you're playing, going all the way around your base, you may want to set up some towers along the inner lining of your keep, because you'll likely be falling back to that at the very end. And then, have your library set up, keep converting those papyrus to perk books to keep getting as many perks up as you can to level up your warrior stats to make them more efficient. Continue to focus on setting up outposts to get additional resources, keep towering, continue to creep. Be aware that you will have orc raiders again show up around 1 p.m. And then just make sure you're back at base by 2200 to fight off another undead wave. But by now, it's kind of rinse and repeat on this endgame situation. You should still have your army fully maxed out at 20 and keep trying to creep around the map to find out what you want to do and who you want to kill, and decide if you feel compelled to try to fight off some of those demon portals or not. Again, I strongly recommend that you don't do it, because it just puts your campaign at risk if you end up suffering too many losses. But it's up to you to decide what kind of challenge you want to try to complete here. If you end up losing your knights, you'll want to replace them with paladins, because the paladins are more durable. The knights have more defense and can block shots from the archers, which is kind of their unique mechanic, but your paladins have armor piercing with their attacks, are immune to corruption, and have a little bit higher damage output. So that's the trade-off between the knight and the paladin here. All right, and congratulations, you survived, and you're now on to the final day of the campaign, being day 10. So again, you have pretty much 1 day to wrap things up before the final attack waves come. So again, you want to get as many resources going. You want to have outposts set up in any location that will be safe, so your workers can continue to work until the end of the campaign, to allow you to continue to get resources to be able to repair your city and anything that is destroyed as the advanced waves are coming for you. If you have big bases, you'll want to set up some secondary walls, and you're going to want to just be spamming as many towers as you can around your base to help keep the perimeter going. At 10 a.m., you'll have your first orc raid on day 10, and then after on day 10 you'll start to suffer double orc raid, so then you'll have a second orc raid come in at 1600 or 4 p.m. A dark portal will also summon in at 1600 or 4 p.m. and then the last undead wave will come at 2200. So just be aware that this will be the last day for you to get anything done that you'll want to. And then just make sure by the end of this that you make some towers around your keep perimeter, because that's likely going to be your final last day location, and it's always nice to have some towers around the perimeter of the keep that you can fight under while the demons get summoned in to fight you, because by this point in time you're likely going to start to get overwhelmed by the undead hordes that are going to be coming, building, and you're unlikely to have them all finished off by the time the final invasion is summoned in. And you need to make sure that you don't end up losing your keep, because once that's destroyed, that's just the end. Another general strategy that I guess I haven't really talked about, that you saw that what I was doing on screen there, is you would want to make some torchlights or lampposts set up around your perimeter of the walls, because by now you're making them so thick that your guys may be fighting out in the dark, and that reduces their effectiveness. So by building some lampposts, that'll guarantee that they're fighting under light and not suffering those debuffs. So that can definitely be a strategy that can be recommended. Now, if you're playing with the paladin, it's less of a importance, because your paladin himself will generate a nighttime aura that will negate the nighttime penalties. But for any other hero, that's still something you have to worry about, because you need to get as much damage out as possible to help you stay alive and continue to creep and get as many kills as you possibly can. And you just need to be careful with your final outposts here that you don't get guys killed, because that's just going to sacrifice your score to the undead gods. So you know, kind of pick and choose where you set up those outposts here. And in the next minute, we will have the last of our unit, or the first of the final invasion. That's a bad way of saying that. The first of the final. We'll have the final invasion get summoned in, and we'll have to fight those off. So we'll see how that goes here. And as you can see, by night 10, the undead waves are pretty impressive, and this is why you want to have lots and lots of towers set up to help you keep your guys, keep the undead mobs at bay. Because unlike the story campaign, where all the units are highly leveled when they're attacking you, on this game setting, other than the elite tier units that have the stars on them, the rest of them are level 1. And so now you can see a demon wave of 20 units is coming for us. But on day 10, you'll have to deal with fighting off a demon prince, or I don't even know what I would necessarily call him. But as you can see, he's got a hero there. And so he's got tons of health, so he's a bit difficult to take out. But in terms of the damage, he's not terribly overwhelming. But he does have a flame AoE attack. So if you're playing with, let's say, the Beastmaster, you don't want to summon a bunch of those little spiderlings around him, because he'll just kill them all immediately, or pretty close to immediately, when he uses that fire AoE. So just be aware of that situation. But you can see the wave of 20 demons coming here. So pretty much it has every demon type coming to assault you, other than the one with the giant axe. And so you typically want to try to get them into some choke points here and just fight, and try not to get them totally overwhelming you. But you can see the named demon there coming, and there's his fire attack that he is using fairly frequently to attack your units. And you're likely going to suffer at least 1 or 2 losses here. So you want to make sure that you have enough equipment left that you'll be able to replace any units that are killed, because unfortunately the pathing in this game is very poor. And by this point in time, there's going to be enough guys and buildings around your units and your base that it's going to interfere with your guys fighting the demons. And this is why I recommend that you have some tower walls around your keep, because you're pretty regularly going to be fighting underneath your keep here, and that will really help kill any units that may be getting globbed up because of the massive AoE and splash damage that those stone towers are able to do. So I would just strongly recommend that you have that, because it would make it much, much easier. And now, unfortunately, on this episode, I didn't do that. But if you do that on your campaign, it'll be much more effective and significantly reduce the chance of you losing units and artificially lowering your score. And then you can keep running around and cycling your units around to try to keep them alive. And then with having 4 to 5 healers, that should be able to keep them alive, to be able to out heal the damage that's coming in. It's just I'm kind of losing control of the situation on this episode here.
But knowing what I know now, there's definitely better ways that I could have done that. So now I finally am like, why did I not build towers around here? But it's going to be too late. And then if your hero does die, he does resurrect after a minute or two, but it does affect your score. And then you have to run around and try to collect all of his equipment and re-equip it to get him back to being very powerful like he was at the start. So it's definitely a bit of a pain in the butt if you do have him get killed at the very end here. And then this is just a bad situation because the necromancers are there, which means he's going to keep spawning in additional units or summoning in additional units. But if you rush to get the kill of the demons, once all the demons are dead, that will bring the mission to an end for you. So that can be some solace if you're really struggling to keep your guys going. Is just focus down the demons, and that should allow you to just bring the mission to a successful completion here. But definitely was just a bad situation with those necromancers being there, continually attacking me, and then continually summoning in additional units that are then focusing down on my army and then having my towers attack there. But if you follow this guide, this should allow you to be quite successful and be able to complete any of the objectives and survival missions. Again, if you're having trouble and want to see how the guide is kind of conducted real time, I'd recommend that you watch my playthroughs of this series, because you can see me go through and complete this in real time. Now, I went into this game blind when I first started, so some of the early episodes are probably not very impressive because I don't quite have all the mechanics under my belt. But certainly by the later episodes, you'll see that I've kind of learned the core mechanics and have a much more seamless playthrough. And then certainly with the Deadlands, that has its own kind of core mechanics. So while the events on all these days are scripted, for the Deadlands, the big thing is you just got to get an army out a little bit quicker and then just kill units around the map to give you food and resources, even more so than just running around and expanding and just making sure you don't have too big of an army early on. That's going to hinder your economy. So you got to definitely have a little more calculated balance between the army and economy than you do on the other maps. But otherwise, the rest of these events are scripted, so it'll be the same events no matter what map you're on. It's just different. Again, just juggling those different mechanics, whether it be very easy on the grasslands where there's really not any major complications, going to the desert where you have to worry about expanding to the oases, and then worrying about the heat waves and counteracting those, whether it's the frozen tundra where you got to get out and use the fishing locate fishing huts to get your food, since you're not going to be able to use the farms at all. The swamp, again, is the difficulty with the poor lumber issues, and then the poor terrain, which can be hit or miss. And then again, the Deadlands not having any ability for food other than going out and killing units and harvesting the food from their bodies. So definitely kind of a macabre aspect to the Deadlands, but I guess that's how the name says it all. So with that, you should have a pretty successful campaign and be able to complete any of these survival maps. If you're looking for information about how to level up your hero, I do have a level hero guide where I go through how I'd recommend leveling up your units if you're going to make them a creeper or a resource gatherer, and then I go through my recommended builds for every hero type and kind of give my reasoning behind that. And I also go through my recommended plan for how to level up your heroes, because all the heroes have very similar skills, and it's really their abilities where they start to differentiate a little bit, and then certain ones can only use certain equipment. But again, I go into that in much more detail on that guide. So I hope this helps. If it does, please give my channel a like and subscribe to encourage me to post more content for you. Have a great day.